guys. I'm going to record a quick video. Once again, I was literally just on my way to leave, and then we got hit with this giant cell coming in. The TAF said it was going to be gusting, I think 20 to 30 here in about, I don't know, a couple hours. So that's that. That's how aviation goes. All right, a couple quick tips. Here's a few ways that you can impress your CFI if you care. And this isn't just for the sake of impressing someone. You're impressing your CFI because you've done your due diligence, and you've studied, and you are willing to learn. Okay, that's what I mean when I talk about impressing a CFI. Not just for the sake of impressing someone. That's lame. You shouldn't just be impressing someone for the sake of it. Okay, number one. Guess what I'm going to say? Study. I know this sounds completely surprising to some people, but if a student shows up and I can tell he or she has studied, it makes the flight so much easier, okay? Because we don't have to take, like I said in my previous videos, 1 step forward, 3 steps back, wasting a bunch of time, right? And I'm not talking about low-level guys, like couple-hour pilot. I'm talking like weeks, months into training, okay? It wastes a lot of time when I go up with a student and they're like, how do you start this maneuver again? I'm like, you were supposed to study this on the ground, but now we have to use your flight time in order to talk about RPM settings and altitudes and bank angles and stuff like that. So, yeah, that's really impressive when a student comes ready to go. They've chair flown, all right, they've studied. It makes the flight so much easier, okay? Secondly, listen to your instructor, okay? That's not to say that your instructor is always going to be right 100% of the time, but what we don't want is you to be yapping the entire time and talking over us and interjecting when it's not appropriate and kind of like being a know-it-all and sharpshooting your instructor in the air. And there's like this really arrogant attitude that some people have. Not a lot. I don't have this in any of my students, where they kind of like use talking to like distract the CFI from putting them into the next maneuver. It's really weird. But yeah, listen. I love flying with students who are willing to listen and to learn. And you'd be surprised at how many people dump thousands and thousands and thousands and thousands of dollars in a flight school, and they're not willing to listen and they're not willing to learn. So I know those are two really obvious things, right? Like study and listen. The third thing kind of goes along with the first, which is studying, but show initiative, right? Like it is impressive to me when students pay attention to the scheduling, pay attention to the weather, get ahead on the studying. They're proactive with things that they want to learn. Like, you know when you're showing initiative, right? I know when you're showing initiative, when you're getting ahead of the game, when you're taking time to study, right? You're honing things in. That's impressive to me, okay? If you notice that when I'm saying that's impressive to me, I am saying that with the student in mind. Meaning like that's impressive to me because now it helps me help you. Okay, does that make sense? 2, or I guess it was before, is to ask questions. Okay, I love questions. I love dumb questions. I love idiotic questions. I love difficult questions. I love all sorts of questions. I ask my students, they're always asking me questions, and I'm always like, oh, I might know that, or I might not know that, and then I, Google it, or I go to the FAR or whatever. So ask questions, because if you're asking questions in aviation, that shows me that you're learning. And hold on, let me. So all the other, sorry, I'm getting like blown up. So anyways, where was I? I totally lost my train of thought because I just got like 5 text messages from my lead saying that I need to do something with my report. I always mess up those things. They drive me nuts. My timesheets. Okay, so asking questions, okay? Aviation is about questions. What's going to happen next? What's going to happen after that? What's the weather looking like? What's the winds? What are the winds looking like? When was the last time? Like, you're asking yourself as a pilot a million questions, okay? So just get used to that now as a student pilot. And I would say number 5 is to be consistent, okay? All of these are incredibly obvious, all right? But number 5, if a student is consistent and he or she has honed in their schedule in order to make it so they can fly more than once a week, that's impressive to me because that makes it easier for me to do my job because I can train you more, right? You could get proficient more quickly rather than being one of the students who flies once a week and you're like, why aren't I making any progress? I'm like, well, you've had 2-3 flights in a month and you're hour 5. Like, at that level, right, when you're a brand new pilot, you need to be flying at least 3 days a week. 2, yeah, you can get away with 2, depending on how far apart they're spaced, but 3 is like the sweet spot, okay? there's high speeds that do 5 days a week. I'm in a Part 61 school, not like ATP, so these guys, it's different for us. But I was flying 5 days a week, all right, and I was really consistent, and it just makes training so much easier. So, yeah, those are the 5 ways I think you can impress your CFI: show initiative, ask questions, listen, be proactive, and be consistent. I think that's about it. Show up with a good attitude, even on your bad days. All right, we got bad days. CFI's got bad days. You got bad days, and I think your money's going to be made in showing up on days that you don't want to train, which is going to be quite often. All right, I'm going to get out of this rain. I'll see you guys.